You would not believe the hassle it has been to get decent enough lighting to film this video. I didn't film a September wrap-up because I read like 3 books and honestly I didn't care enough to talk about any of them. Well, that's not true. But here we are. I have more books and plenty to update you on. So yeah, welcome to Channel 7. My name's Ivana. I like to read. I like fashion. I love the Lord, and I go to university, so sometimes I film stuff related to all of the above. Yeah. The first book that I'm going to talk about is A Great and Terrible Beauty by Libba Bray. I did not like this, and it took me a month to figure that out. Genuinely just did not vibe with this story. It's about our main character, Gemma Doyle, and she moves to London after a tragic event happens in her family and starts going to this preparatory boarding school. And she makes this very odd group of friends, and they help her explore some kind of magical gift that she has that has put her and her family and just the world in danger. The time period is exciting for me. I love period stuff. I do, but I did not like this. I didn't like the magic system. It was too witchcrafty, occultic for my liking. I like fantasy, but I don't like reading occult or just demonic stuff. Like, I don't like to read that. I also did not like the characters. I talked about this in a TikTok because I did a review on this book, and I just said that the characters were really, with all due respect, stupid. Like, I don't know why authors like to write characters that just don't think through things, but I thought that Gemma was incredibly impulsive and did things that she knew she shouldn't have done. Like, she would be like, I know I shouldn't do this because something bad will happen, and then she would do it. And I was like, and now bad things have happened. Also, her friends, like that whole circle of girls, they were just like really mean and insensitive and entitled, and I just did not like the people in this book. So I gave this 2 stars. Next couple of books that I read is the Hunger Games trilogy. You would not believe that I've never read this before. In fact, I didn't even own the books. I had the Hunger Games from over quarantine and I never read it, and then I decided that because I'm in a reading slump, which I was in September, that I will pick up the Hunger Games, and I read it and I loved it. Funny because I know what happens. I've seen the movies a million and one times, but I really enjoyed reading these. I liked getting like insight into Katniss's head. I feel like I understood Peeta and Katniss's dynamic a lot better because I was seeing it through her eyes, and I just love Peeta. I love him so much. He's such a sweetheart. I gave the Hunger Games and Catching Fire 5 stars, and I gave this 3.5 because I don't know, there's something about it that I just didn't click with as much as these books. Like, Katniss and Peeta were at odds for a lot of this book, and I really wanted to get to a point where they had like reconciled properly, but I just wasn't satisfied, you know? I was unfulfilled. So 3.5 stars. I actually read this in between reading The Hunger Games, and that's 4 by Veronica Roth. I don't know, I'm pulling out all the old like middle school books, or like not middle schooler books, but books that came out around my time in middle school. But this, I thought I read this, and then I read it and I was like, I don't think I read this before. I owned it, I lost it, and I bought a new copy. But this is about or Tobias Eaton, and it's his perspective on his initiation. It actually has very little from his time with Tris, so it's predominantly about him. And I was reading like the beginning before the book started, and apparently this was supposed to be the main character, and then she was like, that's not right, so she made Tris the main character, which was news to me because I didn't know this before. And I think it was a good decision to make Tris the main character, but I do and did really enjoy getting insight into For's personal life. Also, this book made him feel so much younger. I don't know if it's just me, but when reading Divergent and like Insurgent stuff, For feels like an early adult, like 22, 23, and he's not. Like, he's literally 16 in this book, and then like by the time him and Tris meet, he's like 18. I wish Veronica Roth did like Divergent, Insurgent, made it a duology, and then tacked this on and completely forgot about Allegiant. My opinion, Allegiant shouldn't exist. That's my thoughts, but I don't know if that's a hot take. And the last like physical book that I read is the start of a new trilogy that I am so obsessed with. I'm obsessed with it. I'm starting the second book this week. I'm just getting a couple other short stories out of the way first, but Unspoken by Sarah Reese Brennan. Where do we start? Okay, our main character, whose name I literally can never remember, her name is Cami Glass. So Cami lives in a small town called Surrey in the Vale, and it is like a very mysterious town, lots of secrets, and she's a journalist, or trying to become one. She's in high school, so she's becoming a journalist. And this school year, it's her like mission to kind of uncover the secrets of her town. And what she discovers is that there is this old family who used to live here, well, not here, called the Lindburn family. And everybody has like this kind of weird, mysterious air about them when they start talking about the Lindburns. Like they're either scared or like full of reverence about it. And like Cami just wants to know what's up, but nobody wants to tell her, so she starts investigating on her own, and lucky for her, the Lindburns end up moving back to Surrey in the Vale at the beginning of the story, and she ends up becoming friends with the Lindburn boys, so Jared and Ash. And also, this is also a huge part of the book, is the fact that Cami all her life has like heard somebody's voice in her head, and she's like kind of talked to this person, and she thought she was crazy, but it turns out that this guy that she's been talking to is actually Jared Lindburn. So she has been conversing with a real person, and he's been conversing with her, and when they find out that they're real people, it's weird, and there's tension, and there's kind of this like, you know all my secrets, you can read my mind, and like all this stuff about it, and it's rocky. And to be honest, I got to the end of the book and I said some things, and then they happened, and I was upset that they happened. But I'm gonna keep reading it, and hopefully I'm not disappointed, because authors like to disappoint me when it comes to stuff like this. So I'm excited to read the rest. I gave this 4 stars. Oh my gosh, it was so good. And you can see my annotations on the side, like they're in, hold on. Yeah. Okay, let's talk about Agatha Christie, because I'm always reading Agatha Christie, right? The first book that I read by Agatha Christie was, or listened to, was The Mystery Affairs at Styles, and I literally don't know what happened in this book. Like, I'm not kidding. I read this right at the end of August into September, and I can't tell you what occurred. Next book I read is I'm Still Here, Black Dignity in a World Made for Whiteness, and this is by Austen Channing Brown. This book was kind of like it was a non-fiction kind of, I don't want to say memoir, it's not a memoir, just like account of this woman's experience. She worked to kind of eradicate racism in like the workplace and stuff like that, so she would do kind of, you know, conventions and meetings and stuff like that, and at the end of it, a lot of people would come up to her and just start offloading all the racist things that they thought and said and how they've treated people, and she talked about how that really just like affected her negatively, that people would use her as a confession booth for all the traumatic things that have happened, and she was like reliving other people's trauma, and how she really didn't like that. And I thought like that's, I don't know, I've never heard anyone kind of convey their experience in that way, and I thought it was really insightful. Oh, I started reading Looking for Alaska by John Green, and safe to say that I just don't like John Green's writing. I don't. I read Fault in Our Stars many years ago, and I liked the story. I don't think I ever liked the writing that much, but the story was great. At this point, I don't like the stories. Looking for Alaska, An Abundance of Catherines, I don't even know what the other ones are called, but I just don't really like John Green. So I DNF'd this. So, okay, I read An Ideal Husband by Oscar Wilde, and this was really funny. It's like a social commentary about politics, and it was just hilarious to see them poke fun at like the immorality. I don't know, I said it like that. The immorality. It was fun to see them poke fun at just like political conversation and like conventions. I would highly recommend An Ideal Husband. I gave this 3.5 stars, so that's good. And the last book that I read in October, I think I read this on the last day of October in the morning. It's a short story, pretty easy to get through. It is A Telltale Heart. A Telltale Heart. It's a bit of a tongue twister, by Edgar Allan Poe. And I love Edgar Allan Poe's writing. Like, it is dramatic, it is very much like dark and just atmospheric. This man is literally like planning to kill somebody. I know that sounds kind of suspect, but it's literally a commentary on like the moral decay of humanity. I don't read for fun so that I can pick apart literature and like analyze it to write a paper. Like, I do that enough with my class readings. I read because it's fun, so I try not to think too hard, but it's really certain books it's difficult to miss, you know, like this book, A Telltale Heart, or The Picture of Dorian Gray, or even An Ideal Husband. Like, they definitely have very strong themes of commentary about the human heart, the human condition, stuff like that. So, I mean, it's kind of difficult to miss, but it was really good and I really enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars. I rarely give short stories such high ratings because they're short and I feel like I'm never fully satisfied, but this was so good. And the way that it ended, y'all, it was so good. It was so good. All the books that I read in September and October. Like I said, I'm officially at 75 books out of the 85. I have such a long TBR this month of both audiobooks and physical books, so we'll check in next month and see where we are.